You Can't Hear What You're Mixing, Part 2. I'm Alex Maggs from Ultimajor Studios, and today we're talking about speakers. Okay, so I brought out my old friends, the HS7s, just for an example in this video, because these are what I used to mix on, and they were really good for what they were. Entry level, they're great, they're flat, and they have a pretty good frequency response. Every smaller speaker is going to have a tweeter that plays up to about 20 kilohertz, same as most good speakers. What is going to let these down compared to a more expensive speaker or a larger speaker is the frequency response in the low end. This woofer plays down to about 55 Hz, which isn't bad, but most music goes down to about 30 Hz or lower. When it comes to pop, 808s have signal well into the 20s, so you really are missing quite a lot of what you can hear just by having this smaller speaker. And I really noticed it with my mixes when I bought a subwoofer. And I discovered all my mixes had basically maybe a 6 dB boost in the bass because I just couldn't hear that much under 100 Hz. Now, for a lot of people, I would recommend a subwoofer. If you buy a decent subwoofer that can play down close to 20 Hz, or ideally 220 Hz or below, you're going to do a lot for your speaker setup. Subwoofers have what's called a crossover in them. And when it comes to pro audio stuff, you have an active crossover, which you can change manually so it fits your system. Now, I had a subwoofer set up, the matching subwoofer to go with these, which I had set to about 80 Hz. And that means from 80 Hz it took over. So that whole 25 Hz range, now this doesn't have to play. And it means that this mid-bass speaker here doesn't have to move as much because the sub-frequencies are what cause the largest amount of movement from a mid-woofer, or a woofer in general. Because it doesn't have to move as much, you get more detail out of it and you get a better mid-range sound. So it really benefits the whole system, and everything you hear will sound better and clearer, as well as you'll have lower extension into the bass frequencies. You can also get a three-way speaker, which has a dedicated mid-range driver between your tweeter and your woofer that takes care of all the mid-range and really helps with stuff like vocals and other mid-range focus instruments. Now, when it comes to setting up your speakers, you want your tweeters to be at ear level and you want your speakers and your head to be equidistant. So you need the distance between your speakers and the distance between your speakers and your head to be the same. So let's say you want them all to be 1 meter apart. So you want to be a 1 meter triangle, 1 meter apart from each other, 1 meter away from your head, tweeters pointing at your ears. If you do that, you'll have a good foundation for your audio setup. I'll talk about speaker placement in the room video, but for now, good night and happy mixing.